Notice to viewers, you are about to enter an intellectual argument over analysis of...
Wait, I have to explain this because nobody will have a clue what's happening here.
I have just finished recording a series of real-time vlogs, like real-time, unedited, no background music, like beyond raw, I guess mini documentaries of going through a process of loss and grief. I thought, how I can just kind of make it a little bit fun for myself. And then what I have decided is to almost do like a theater performance of each of those real vlogs. I thought that should be so much fun. And I wanted to bring that fun back into my life. So I thought, okay, I will just bring a little joy here and there, and I would just pretend that I am analyzing myself as a psychologist, as a sociologist, and as a media expert. I thought, that should be fun. But what I realized is I just couldn't make it fun. I just couldn't even put like one joke in it. And I was just thinking, even if I post it, it's like, it's just so unfunny. And then I was like, why is that? Yeah, I know why. Because grief and loss is not fun. Because it's not a joyful process. It's when sadness is a primary thing. If this works, great. If it doesn't, I think for myself it was an important thing to do. So here we go.
Notice to viewers, you are about to enter an intellectual argument over analysis of things that may or may not matter, a mixture of philosophical, psychological and sociological dialogue on Loser Diary, a mini-series produced by Knowledge No Gaze, collection of vlogs you have almost certainly not watched. Reframed, if you believe this is... If you believed this is entertainment, with a word processed in comment section.
Welcome and thank you for tuning in. Today is a slightly different format to what you might know from previous uploading. We are gathering as a group of 3 experts, each specializing in own discipline, to share ideas and perspectives from different schools of thoughts about the subject and creator behind the mini-series of vlogs on loss and grief.
Yes, that's right. Welcome and thank you for joining us. Our role is to provide multi-perspective analysis, offering our expertise, and we have plenty of this, to achieve an in-depth exploration of the subject.
We want to find some answers. We want to find the answers to some fundamental questions. For example, what motivates her as a creator?
What we wanted to do is we wanted to look at the subject and the creator itself and see if we can have a discussion about who is the person and who is the creator behind the mini vlogs. Who is this blogger? Who stands behind those creations?
In that sense, to provide constructive interpretation, the why behind her actions. What drives her to make and publish this kind of, content? We want to find out what are the patterns of her work, but as such, also what are or could be implications of this creative work.
Our bigger aim is to unpack her. Imagine obtaining a Christmas gift and then unpacking it. And in essence, it is exactly what we are doing here. We are taking these mini vlogs, we are taking this work, we are taking this creator and unpacking her and her work. And we are doing that to get a bigger and better understanding of what's her personality, what's her methods, but also what's the emotional process, and also what's the meaning of her work. What we are really doing is contextualization, placing her in a bigger framework, placing her in a larger pattern, understanding human behavior on a greater scale, but also using this as an opportunity for discussion on the artistic practice, but also research value, and also, of course, not forgetting about the cultural context.
I'm wondering, should we just give an overview what this loser diary is? Not many people will know what we are referring to.
Yes, that's a good idea.
Yes, Loser Diary is a mini-series of what the content creator refers as raw vlogs or even stream of consciousness. I believe in total, my colleagues might correct me, there is 7 or 8 of those mini vlogs recorded in one camera shot, completely unedited. Our understanding of the process is that the creator is recording exactly when she's feeling those emotions and then immediately uploading. These vlogs are, as I mentioned, unedited. There is no background music and there is no visuals just moving. There's no hook. There is a recording of her emotions uploaded exactly as it is, what it is, a documentary, a true documentary. And it's by no means not an easy thing to follow, because what we are experiencing is a documentary, a recording of someone thinking on the spot, someone who is going through the process when the process is occurring. So we have long monologues, sometimes extremely unstructured, and sometimes going off the tangents completely. There's of course a language barrier because the creator is using English as a second language. I would be surprised if these mini vlogs will ever achieve any views. But in actual sense, that does not matter, because what matters is that we watched it and we analyze it.
The series documents grief, loss.
Well, that's not fully correct. It also holds strong themes of integrity. Integrity in the face of repeated defeat, also injustice, also powerlessness, and the limits of control. That seems to be what she actually ends on in her last vlog. And then there is the role of labels in identity development. She calls herself a loser, a criminal, an abuser, passive-aggressive. And these are only some labels that she recalls, among many, many others. This provides a case study in how repeated external labels are internalized, contested, or perhaps, hopefully for her, reframed over time.
Yes, exactly. That's quite interesting, because each of those mini vlogs moves her or captures in particular what she refers as stage, although I would be very careful about that from the theoretical perspective. However, what she refers to are different stages, and what she captures is the different emotional states that she's going through when going through this process of grief, loss, or what I might refer to as sense making. So what we have is, first of all, we have her initial shock, then we have her total collapse, then self-smoothing, then what she refers to as self-making and tightening up. And then in actual sense, what takes most of the time of her recording is this analysis of what was happening. Really, there's a vlog, and this of course can be discussed in more detail, is vlog of her sense-making. But there's something more that's happening in these vlogs. And when you look at them from a bigger perspective, there are at least 3 layers here. There is this emotional response that she's recording, but there is also this philosophical undertone. She is using herself as an example, which she translates to a bigger layer of the humanity itself. No doubt about that. So there is a self, this emotional response, but there is this philosophical layer. And on top of that, of course, we have a meta-analysis of her looking at her own process itself. And this is what makes it so interesting, because in essence, what we are dealing here with is a diary within diary. And I think my colleagues will agree, this is exactly what excites us so much, because in essence, what we are dealing with is discovering this mini surprise in a diary itself.
Well, effectively, she's conducting an autoethnography, live recorded study of her own inner life in the context of loss, grief, and injustice. She uses herself as a sole case study, turns the camera on her own experience in real time, almost if she would be observing herself from the outside. Like a scientist, but experiment is her.
Yes, and then, and let's not forget about that, there is her relational style.
Equaliser. She positioned the audience not as followers, but as co-participants. Meaning? Meaning what? She doesn't place herself above the audience, not as authority, not as a performer. She actively levels the power between herself and whoever is watching. I mean, she is creating equality. She is creating and achieving equality in an environment where equality just is not supposed to be existing. I mean, you can't, because you have a creator who is providing a content to you with no interaction. And still, she's successful in achieving that equality. And I believe the audience can feel that.
Yes, that's what it's called, dialogical. She is dialogical. That means that even without any comments, because there's hardly any comments, which in sense she doesn't find that she needs them, but in that sense, what happens is that she speaks as if there would be an active exchange, even if that exchange is not present and it's not there, because she's using these imaginary responses to create that dialogue between her and this would potentially be the reaction and response of her audience.
Exactly, she's holding a real conversation in her head, even though in the real measurable terms there is nothing. There is no views and there is no comments. She uses that imagined audience to pressure test her ideas in real time, by anticipating questions, by anticipating doubts, by anticipating pushbacks. She's running a mental debate. That's what she's doing. That's a mental debate for her. Sharpening her thinking without any actual replies, because the replies are not there, isn't it? It's all happening in her imagination, which seems she has plenty of.
Yes, I agree. That is called shared imagined authorship. That's exactly what it is, shared imagined authorship. They aren't passive consumers. The people who are watching her vlogs, they are definitely not passive. They can't be. You can't be. It's impossible to remain passive, even if that was your plan before joining in. One, because she's addressing them directly. They are pulled into their thinking process. She somehow manages to pull them in her thinking process. And then, what happens because of that? They are becoming co-creators. The co-creators of meaning making, but what I think is even more important, they become co-creators or even the owners of their own meaning making. And I actually think that's what excites her the most, allowing her audience to create meaning, to grow on their own. I truly believe that's exactly what is behind her motives, but I'm sure we will be discussing that at some point if we didn't already.
Mutual recognition, especially with those whom she refers to as people on the floor.
And in doing that, she offers an invitation to introspection by treating the audience as equals, because that's what she's doing, isn't she? She prompts them to examine their own process, The mini-series is aimed at her, to heal her. Of course, she's using that to heal herself, but potentially, and I have no doubts about that, that's ultimately not her goal. She's using herself in a way yet to heal herself, but ultimately to heal others. Yes, I took some notes about that because for me it was striking about this series, and that is how many worlds it catches at once. Psychologically, it mirrors a meaning a reconstruction theory in grief, isn't it? The ongoing work of making sense after loss. This is obvious, this is the strongest theme throughout her work. But also sociologically, it is a life case in how labels are imposed, how they are resisted, and sometimes how they are reframed and even reclaimed. But politically, it's a pure autoethnography, a self-narrated study of one's own life, offered raw, offered unpolished. And beneath all of it, and we have talked about it already, a philosophical undercurrent, so strong in her work, a search for agency, a search for authenticity, and a story that can hold. A story that can hold past, present, and future choices. And this is her power, because she is reframing that story to hold herself, to hold her past, to hold her present, and to hold herself in the future. And I do hope that she's successful in that process.
Shall we look at her first? Her as a creator, but also her as a subject of the study. Well, a female, 43 years old, Polish, Eastern European immigrant, uses English as a second language, grammar mistakes and pronunciations. I really do not know how it is possible to actually listen to her. Improvising in a second language, that's what she's doing. She prioritizes meaning over perfect form. I think this is fair to say. So she is improvising in a second language. That's not an excuse, that's exactly what's happening. Highly self-reflective, no doubt about that. I mean, I've never met anything as, no one as reflective as her. Is that good? I leave that with no comment. Definitely philosophical, no doubt about that. Quick to widen a personal event into commentatory on human nature. Defiant, that's another one, isn't it? Extremely defiant. Refuses thumbnails, editing, or even searchable titles. I mean, why would she do that? But it's not rebellion for a rebellion's sake. She's truth-driven. No doubt about that, she is truth-driven. And there is dual processing occurring all the time, if not triple processing. Is that possible? I'm actually not sure about the research on that one, colleagues. But she's able to hold intense emotions. And at the same time, when those emotions are in play, she's able to objectively, at the same time, look at them, acting both as a subject and researcher. I think that's quite extraordinary. Her self-control must be high. And then humor. She's using humor as an armor. I mean, I'm not sure who finds it funny anyway, especially as she can go on tangents. And some of her jokes, let's just say it, are totally inappropriate.
Okay, I'm going to be serious in this video, so I'm wearing my husband's glasses because, you know, people are looking at you and they are thinking, no, let's try again. Oh my god, you could see how dirty my my trousers are. Shh. Okay, this is going to be a serious video and I'm just watching because I do not want my husband to know that I am recording. And the lighting, it's natural. And the sound is even more natural. Okay, back to topic. This is a serious video. This might be the first ever, maybe the only video of a serious tone that I am ever going to make. Will I ever concentrate on saying what I need to say? Okay, this is supposed to be a serious video. Can I be serious? Okay, fine. This is a serious video. Let's start for the third time. And I'm wearing a serious glasses. Okay. I'm almost ready to say what I want to say. Okay.
The final thing is that she is a relational processor. She acts as a relational processor. that meaning comes in imaginary dialogue for her, never in isolation. So she's in constant meaning making, in a constant dialogue, even if that would be with the invisible audience. And I'm actually wondering if she's doing that because she's looking for a public to act as her, well, judges. Maybe that's what she ultimately is aiming at. She is looking for a public to act collectively as an evaluator of her and her own work.
And what drives her? What drives her? I think this is an important question. What really drives her?
She's truth-seeking. Ultimately, that's what it is. She is truth-seeking. And recording is her sense-making. A recording is her emotional container. This moving into dialogue, whether that's real, in her case it's imagined, isn't it? Because there is no viewers, no commentatory, but it still makes feelings less isolated. This camera is her thinking tool, part therapy, but part public archive. She documents unfiltered human process, grief and loss without muteness. She speaks to people on the floor, isn't it? That's so powerful. She sees herself as one of them. She is one of the people on the floor. And those are in powerless positions. And she's not above them. She is alongside them. And this is so powerful. She is one of them. And she reclaims in that way control. In these nanoseconds that she owns, the choice to record, the choice to upload, the choice to upload straight after the recording, the choice of her words, choice of what she will do in those nanoseconds. These are all her ways of reclaiming control.
She also frames events in moral terms: fair, unfair, just, unjust. They are central organizing concepts. The labels she's been given are symptoms of a deeper wrong she is determined to witness and record. And whether that injustice is truly real, partly real, or perceived, the belief still drives her emotions, identity work, and narrative. I do not know if this is clear what I have just said, but in essence what she's doing, she sees what happens to her mainly through the lens of morality. Morality is her core. I mean, ultimately that is it. Morality is the driving force. She's always asking herself, is this fair or is it unfair? Just or unjust? The negatives name people have called her, loser, criminal, etc., are not just insults to her. They are evidence of something bigger and more serious she believes has been done wrong to her. And even if this wrong is completely real, or only partially real, or mostly in her perception, it really doesn't matter. It doesn't matter because in her mind, she feels it's real, and that shapes her.
So if she is right, and I really want to be clear on this, if she is right, the diary is a public testimony of wrongdoing. But if she is wrong, it's a study in how conviction and bias can shape reality. And even it's a mix, which possibly is, usually it is a mix, then the Luther diary is both witness statement and example of how personal history colors our sense of justice.
But either way, the psychological truth remains.
Which brings us to the final question. What's next for her?
I think she could pause. I think it would be better for her to pause. She could pause, letting herself to stay a bit longer in those raw states before reframing. At the moment, she controls the process too much. She does not stay long enough in those raw states. She's reframing straight away. And this would allow her to uncover these deeper layers, which are so obvious in her recordings. I deserve to lose. I deserve to be punished. Or even I want to be punished. So staying longer in those raw states without her intellectual, let's reframe straight away because I know how to do it, would be much more healing for her. This would allow her to integrate. Because at the moment she's cycling, and she has to be cycling from one to another and from back there, just because she didn't integrate. And she didn't integrate because she didn't allow herself to stay long enough in those raw states. And that's for sure. And in that sense, staying longer in those states without her intellectual reframing, because she knows how to do it, could allow her to transform the labels. She won't be able to move unless she will work out the labels, unless she will be able to transform those labels and move from this self-punishment to reclaim identity, a new identity, incorporated with those labels and owned by her. I think that's the key.
There are three pathways here. One, abrupt stop. Just abrupt stop. It is exhausting. I mean, she can't sustain it. She could walk away without announcement. Potentially. Yeah, that's the path forward for her. The second option, softer pivot. Mixing heavier entries with a safe, lighter content to just keep going. But of course, it seems that she is a busy woman. And she seems to have children, she seems to be working. She's helping her parents, but also supporting her husband on the farm. So it seems that softer pivot might not really work simply because of conditions of where she is in life. A third option is a transformed diary, and that is invite audience participation, more structure, and reflective summaries. Personally, I really do not know. I think she might be really tired, and that might be just it. Although in the sense, I also sense that she might really like it. It's too helpful for her to resign, to stop.
Whatever she chooses, one thing is certain, she had not finished wrestling with the truth.
Just one more thing. All of this was just a general overview of the series as such, but I am wondering, shall we have a closer look at each of the blocks that she created?
Yes, no doubt. There is so much there. So much there.
Yes, I agree. I think this is crucial. Whether the events she describes happened exactly as she says, which most possibly didn't, or whether only partially true, or maybe not even true at all, the vlogs still carry their own truth. You won't be able to take it away. There is an emotional truth. There is a creative truth. And the patterns they reveal about grief, about justice, about identity, they are worth commentary, regardless whether she says is exactly that, or partially that, or none of that at all. So perhaps the next step for us is to evaluate her vlogs one by one, to walk through each of them, one video at a time.
Maybe.
Maybe.